coordinating food drives, volunteering at homeless shelters, to assisting NGOs around the world. And she currently consults and trains nonprofits on the best ways to use digital tools to raise money and awareness. Alex Heckman is the marketing manager here for POSIBA and has the pleasure of interviewing Julia today. Alex has been active in nonprofit and related industries her entire career. And prior to POSIBA, she was the Director of Business Development for the Muscular Dystrophy Association. So for the next half hour here, Julia will be answering the most frequently asked social media questions she encounters. We hope you leave today with a more refined focus on how to maximize your efforts on social media. And please remember to stay around until the end of the webinar so you can have your individual questions answered live by Julia. And also there will be an extra perk you want to know about, which we'll go ahead and announce at the end. Okay, Alex, take it away.
Thanks, Brandon. Hi, everyone. I'm Alex, and I am thrilled to welcome Julia Campbell to the call. Julia, hello and welcome.
Hi. Thanks for having me, Alex.
Thank you so
I'm excited to be here.
Excited. Yes, we're super excited. So we're thrilled to get to ask you some of the hard questions about nonprofit social media that will help the folks on the call today. I know we're all really eager to get some answers from you, just to hear about your perspective, having been in the industry for so long. So let's get started.
Okay, great. Sounds good to me. Two of my favorite topics, nonprofits and social media.
Perfect. We knew we called the right lady.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, so one question you mentioned that comes up a lot for you is really finding out how to get measurable results from your social media activity. So the first question, how can I translate all my social media and online activity into measurable results? This can be kind of a holy grail to some of us sometimes. So what are some better ways to understand how our social media and online activities are actually moving our mission forward?
I think that I love to get this question because I think that this is the kind of next iteration of where social media is going for nonprofits. So we spent a lot of time, hopefully several years, posting, tweeting, perfecting visuals, hopefully getting some kind of content out there on social. And now we're really thinking about, okay, all this work, all of this effort, all of this content, all of this posting, what is it really doing? What is it really doing for my organization? And social media ROI, or return on investment, is a really hot topic, and it's really incredibly, incredibly important because you know that businesses are not spending a single second or resource or dollar that is not measured and that is not translating into results. So why are nonprofits continually doing this and kind of spinning their wheels on these channels? So it depends on what you're doing and how many channels you're on and kind of your own individual goals, but I'm assuming that nonprofits are using social media for the goal of building their donor base, you know, getting donations. They may also be using it for to grow their mission, to reach more clients, for advocacy, to kind of push the needle on some kind of legislation, to get people to call their congressmen, congresswomen, that kind of thing. So what I'm going to talk about today is using social media for raising awareness and for fundraising. There are clearly ways to use it to get more clients and to get the message out there, but for our purposes, I'm going to talk about return on investment that actually is going to turn into donors or donations. So using the example of the St. Baldrick's Foundation, I talked to them pretty extensively and wrote a case study on their social media fundraising efforts. Every single thing that they do and that they post has some kind of end result. So not necessarily leads to a donation, but leads to some kind of further engagement in their organization. So your website, that is your absolute hub. That is where you need to be driving people. That is where you house all of your stories, your blog posts. That's where people can do a deeper dive into your organization, can learn more, can get more involved. That's where you want to be tracking how did visitors get to your website. So St. Baldrick's clearly tracks how people came to their website, what brought them there, what search terms brought them to the website? Did they come before or after an event? Did they come during an event? Did they come before or after a social media campaign? Did they come from an email? Did they come from Facebook? So figuring out where people are coming from to get to your website, what they're looking for to get to your website, and then really diving down a little bit deeper and figuring out how many visitors are making donations. So per 100 visitors, how much money do you actually make? So you need to become a little bit more familiar with analytics platforms. I suggest Google Analytics because it's free. You can just Google the 2 words, Google Analytics, and set it up on your website fairly easily. There's a little bit of code you might have to add to your website, but it's pretty easy to use. It looks very, very comprehensive and scary, but once you maybe take a webinar on it or read a little bit about it, there are maybe 3 or 4 things that you need to look at, like how many visitors are actually going to your donation page. You also want to sort of track how many people are coming to your website, not just necessarily going to your donation page, but actually pulling the trigger and making a donation. And so for that, you would want to be tracking your thank you page or whatever you're sending people once they make a donation. How many clicks does it take to make a donation? Blackbaud found that on average, they just did a study, an online fundraising benchmark study. They found that on average, an unbelievable amount of websites, I think over 60%, it takes 3 or more clicks to actually make a donation. You're losing people with every single click. So you're sending people to your website to take an action, to do something, to sign up for your email, to make a donation. You need to actually be sending them directly to the page to put in their credit card information. So if you've got that donate button on Facebook and you're sending me to the home page of your website from the donate button, that first of all I can get confused, I could get distracted, my phone could ring, you know, I have 75 tabs open on my computer, I could click away to something. So when people actually click the donate button or they take an action on one of your posts or your tweets, lead them, please lead them directly to the donate page where they can make a donation. Also, you need to be measuring your email communications, your open and your click-through rate, and not just your open rate, not just your click-through rate, but your engagement rate, which is you need to divide the number of clicks you get on each email by the number of opens. And I'm happy to send this to anyone. It sounds much more complicated than it is, but what we need to get beyond, measuring website traffic, email opens, and reach, because those are all vanity metrics. Those don't mean anything. You could have had 100% of your emails opened, but 0 people actually clicked on your donate link. Or you could have 10,000 fans on Facebook and 0 people share your posts. You know, you could get 10,000 website visitors a month and nobody makes a donation. So you get the point. We need to drill down deeper into what we're doing and figure out if all, and we have the tools at our disposal. So Google Analytics, if you use any kind of email software that you know, measures open rates, measures click-through rates, social media analytics, they're all available to you. It just means taking a little more work out of your day and really drilling down deep into what kinds of posts and tweets and Instagram photos and blogs, what's the type of content and the language that are really making people take an action, and what's their process, kind of what's their journey through the action. And I know that's, sorry, long-winded response to that.
Yeah, that's great. I think that's really helpful. And I know a lot of us, I even speak for myself here, Google Analytics can be really intimidating. So maybe just to start small, too, I think is what you mentioned earlier when we spoke, is you don't have to tackle it all at once. It can be the kind of thing where you sort of, you know, check things out, check what reports are available, how people are searching for you, and kind of optimize from there.
Exactly. It really is intimidating, but at the base you need to be knowing where people are coming from and what they're clicking on your website. And if you get 10,000 visitors a month and 0 make a donation, that's a really good sign that something is wrong. Or if you have a great open rate on your email, 60%, anything above 30% is great for nonprofit emails. If you've got a great open rate, but no one's actually clicking or no one's actually making a donation, that leads you to believe that your email is compelling enough to be opened, but what's happening in that process, maybe people are coming from mobile and your donation page isn't optimized, or what is that barrier? So looking at everything you're doing and figuring out how you can best eliminate the barriers to getting that donation or getting that sign up.
Great, okay. So along that same line, here's another question you mentioned you often get, and one that probably, I'm guessing, a lot of us struggle with. What are the best emerging social media and online channels, and how do I know which ones I need to be on?
That is a question I get pretty frequently, and that's putting the cart before the horse. So before you decide what social media channels you need to be on, you need to figure out, you need to first of all optimize your website and email list. Are they optimized for mobile? Are they responsive? They absolutely need to be responsive, and that all that means is they can be viewed on every single type of screen. Everybody has a different phone and a screen size. Everybody has a different desktop, laptop, tablet, whatever it is. There's really no excuse for nonprofits not to have a website and email that is fully optimized. Those are the two things you need first, because hopefully you're going to be using social media to be driving people to your website and your email list to make a donation to sign up. So that's first and foremost. You also need to ask yourself, is your target audience on this particular channel? And each channel needs to be looked at individually. So every channel is its own country. What works on Pinterest doesn't work on Instagram, might not work on, certainly won't work on Snapchat. They all have different etiquette and different ways that they're being used, and things that work and things that don't work. Facebook, Twitter, I mean all of them, and we all know this. So think about your target audience and who you want to reach and what you're saying and the kind of content you're creating, and figure out if that channel is going to be best managed. For instance, oh wait, I'll talk about that when I talk about number 4. So can we add value here? I always ask that question when people say, should we be on Instagram? Okay, yes, I love Instagram. Instagram's one of the fastest growing channels. It's growing across demographics. It's growing with incredibly diverse populations. But can you add value? Can you post a high quality, great photo every single day with a great caption, with optimized hashtags? Can you manage that? I mean, can you add something to Instagram that you're not already providing on your other social media channels? And then number 4, do we have the capacity to manage each of these channels? As I just said, they need to be managed individually. You need to spend time on each of them. Twitter, I always get this question, should we be on Twitter? Do you have, maybe an hour a day, at the minimum half an hour a day to spend on Twitter? If not, I would suggest not being on Twitter, because to maximize your use of Twitter takes a lot of time, a lot of effort. It's not just publishing, it's responding, joining tweet chats, it's actually looking at your followers, mentioning them, looking at hashtags, looking at topics. There's a lot of work that goes into effectively using Twitter. Same with Snapchat. I get that question once a day. Should my nonprofit be on Snapchat? People post on Snapchat 6 to 10 times a day. So if you're prepared to do that, fantastic. If you work with teens in any way, absolutely. If you want to get your message across to teens or to college students, then you have to ignore all these questions. You do need to be there. That's where your audience is. You're going to have to figure out the answers to 3 and 4, because it's so important for that demographic. But if you don't have the capacity to manage it right now, you're not an organization focused on teens or focused on college students, then it might be something to think about in the future. I wouldn't stress about it right now. It's definitely something to look at, as it's hugely growing and people are using it very well. But all of these platforms are time-consuming and require a lot of consistent and creative content creation. I mean, you have to be consistently creative, getting attention, getting eyeballs. You cannot be mediocre on these platforms or you're going to get ignored. The other thing I always suggest is looking at what platforms you like. So if you hate Twitter, if you absolutely hate it, and I know a lot of people do, it's not going to work for you. It's not going to work for your organization if you dread it and loathe it and hate it. If you hate Instagram, if you hate taking photos, if you hate LinkedIn, I think you need to evaluate what's going to be the best value add for your organization. But if you absolutely loathe a particular platform or just can't understand it or it's too technical for you, then I would suggest maybe thinking about some other alternatives, because that's going to be challenging every day to open up this platform and try to be creative and try to be consistent on it.
Great. Good stuff. I love what you said. Every social media channel is its own country. That's just put into words something that I've been thinking for a long time. So thanks for saying that. That's helpful.
Sure.
Great. Okay. And a good follow-up question to that would be, how do I really maximize and effectively use these channels to their full potential?
I think that each channel is used very differently, but I also think that the one thing they kind of have in common is that they're fantastic for, like what I say, the handshake, for getting to know a little bit more about you, for introducing your work, your impact, the benefits that you provide, the services that you provide, to introduce your clients, the people you serve, whatever it is that you do. They are fantastic platforms for showcasing your stories and your visuals, and just really inviting people sort of, we call it into the kitchen, like inviting them to see how things are made and things are done. That's how I believe social media is used most effectively. So if the majority of your content is kind of the handshake, letting people know about you, getting them more informed and educated and inspired is especially important. Getting them passionately inspired or pissed off. Chelsea Clinton said that at the Inbound Marketing Conference, and it was the most amazing thing. I have it everywhere. I use it everywhere. That's what's required to get people to take action. So using social media to get people pissed off or passionately inspired, hugely effective use of your time on social media, because it is such an easy platform for people to share, but they're only going to share if they get angry, if they experience some kind of emotion, if they are very inspired, if something makes them happy or sad. Think about the things that people share on social networks, especially on Facebook. It's always something that's either funny or sad or inspiring, or maybe it's going to make you angry and make you want to take action. It has to elicit some kind of emotion. Using these channels to drive people to your website, I keep harping on this, but that is so important, because as we all know, organic, which means unpaid reach on social media, is decreasing dramatically. So you cannot rely on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram to tell your story and to connect with your donors. Not only do you not own those channels, any of those channels could close tomorrow and we wouldn't have any recourse. You don't own what you put on those channels. You don't own your list of followers from Facebook. You don't know anything about your followers on your fans on Facebook, I'm willing to bet, but you do know about your email list and your donor list. So how can you convert them from becoming a social media follower, bringing them to your website, getting them to make a donation, getting them to subscribe to your newsletter? That is so much more powerful than simply having social media fans and followers. You own your website content, you own your email list, and it's just more powerful. It's a more powerful way to communicate with your donors. You can use social media for fundraising asks. It has to be very, very strategic. You have to use a story, a visual. You have to drive them to a specific page. So what I see on social a lot that drives me crazy is a very generic fundraising ask. There's no kind of urgency. I don't understand why I'm being asked right now. I don't really know what I'm giving to. And then I have directed to the nonprofit's main website. So that doesn't help me. Then I have to click around and figure it out and find it. So I always recommend using some kind of platform that is specific. So using somewhere where I can go and it's like a one-stop shop for all the campaign information. It's mobile optimized. It has the campaign, it has the fundraising information, it has maybe a great video, a great story. So I go from this great Facebook post that has compelled me to click on the link to learn more or to learn how to help these children or these animals or whatever it is that I'm doing. Then the social share platform really converts me and draws me in, and then I'm able to share the good work with other people to kind of continue that momentum. So being incredibly strategic, thinking about the entire journey of this person that you are asking to donate or to sign up for a petition or to advocate, to get their email. Think about the whole funnel. I hate to use the word funnel though, because no, there's not really a start point and end point. People kind of join in at all places along the funnel. But where you think about using it very, very strategically in terms of asking and optimizing these asks, thinking about how people use social media. They don't use it to donate. They don't use it to buy things. But when it fits kind of seamlessly into their news feed and it's something very interesting and visually compelling, people are much more likely to click on it. So it takes a lot of work and effort and creativity, but it definitely can be done.
And that click can often be the first step in a new relationship, right? I mean, the awareness piece is so critical to getting new volunteers and new donors, new sponsorships. So I'd say definitely that's the first step in sort of getting back that relationship.
Oh, let me add one thing. I think social media is perfect. It's perfectly designed for all stages of the donor relationship. So the first part of the donor relationship, getting to know you, and then cultivating donors, keeping them informed and keeping them in touch with the work of the organization and letting them know where their money is gone, letting them know you're a good steward of their funds, letting them know that you are actually accomplishing your mission, and giving them a little behind the scenes, a little bit more intimate glimpse than your annual report. I caution nonprofits to use social media and give people a little bit more insight and be a little bit more casual and a little bit more friendly, give them an inside look into what you're doing, and that will not only entice more people and interest more people, but it will also keep your donors interested and keep them giving to you.
Awesome. That's great. Okay. All right. Well, our next question, I bet that a lot of the people that are on this call today have some incredible stories to tell about their cause, just experiences they've had, families that have been helped, change that has occurred. What are the best ways to tell our nonprofit stories using these channels?
I think, and well, I know, the best way to tell your story is video. Video is the most engaged with and the most shared piece of content across the social media platforms. If you look on Facebook, there are 1 billion Facebook users. An average of 50% of users watch one video at least per day, if not more. I probably watch a ton more videos than that. Short form videos work best across all platforms. So Facebook, if you upload the video directly into Facebook, that works well because then it will autoplay and it will catch the eye. So there's many advantages, and we could probably talk for an hour about how to effectively use video, but having some kind of video strategy is so important and completely vital right now. It could be expensive, professional quality video that you then cut up into pieces. It could be a series of interviews done with your smartphone. It could be, like the Humane Society here, a photo or a video of a dog rolling around in the grass. It could be any number of things. But a combination of some kind of professionally done fundraising video, if you're having a specific campaign, especially if you're having a campaign, your annual fund or Giving Tuesday, or maybe you want to raise $10,000 to build a playground in the next 3 months, or you're having a capital campaign, whatever it is, having a video explaining the campaign, that you can then share everywhere, cut it up into pieces, and then having some kind of video strategy with a little more amateur tools like a GoPro or your phone or your tablet, having people in the field take videos. Video, just, it has to be done. We all have to work around confidentiality issues. I know that is huge. I worked at a domestic violence shelter, and I was the development and marketing director, and I completely understand. And we had huge restrictions on what we could and couldn't share for legal and safety reasons, not just confidentiality reasons. So you have to be very creative in who you're talking to, get alumni of the program, get staff, get donors. Donors are fantastic people to talk to, volunteers. Think about who you can get that would work really well on video and that would have a compelling story to tell. So there's that kind of video strategy. The second prong of a video strategy that is emerging that I have not seen a nonprofit use yet, and if you have, please, please, please let me know in the chat box or on Twitter. I haven't seen any nonprofits using live streaming video yet. I have seen tons of news organizations using it, tons of conferences and celebrities and some businesses using it, but live streaming video is absolutely huge. It's exploding in popularity. To do live streaming, you need a compelling topic, clearly. A Q&A usually works well in a live streaming video, especially for Facebook or if you're using Periscope. But if it's not something you're doing now, it's not something you're familiar with, look it up, read articles about live streaming video. There's a whole group of resources on Facebook for Facebook live streaming. But getting a video strategy in place for your nonprofit is huge. Compelling images, everything on social media is visual, and to cut through the clutter and the noise and all the junk that's on social media, you need this, like, look at this photo of this dog. It's amazing. It catches your eye, it makes you happy, it just makes you want to click on the link and learn more about the dog. The other thing that I like about this is that they used a trending hashtag. So my best day in 3 words was trending this particular day on Twitter, which just means critical mass of people are tweeting about it and searching on it. So my best day in 3 words, cheese, lap time. I love it. And it's from the dog's perspective. It was just such a great way to jump on a popular hashtag and then also kind of tell the story about Snowy. I mean, he's really, really cute. So eye-catching images are huge. That's another strategy that you need. Have photographers at every event. Have a strategy to take and collect photos, and brand consistency. That's something that I feel gets overlooked, but it is so important. Having a consistent voice, consistent colors, a consistent tone across your social media channels so that when I leave Twitter and I go to your website, it still looks like you. Or when I go from your website to Instagram, I still know that it's you, because you have 0.2 seconds to capture people's attention, especially on the web, and you don't want to squander it, and you don't want people clicking away. So those are just my top 3. There's a lot of ways to tell your story, but video and compelling images are definitely the best way to do it.
Great. Thanks. All right, we've learned so far that our follower numbers maybe don't always tell the whole story of what we're doing and the impact we're having, but that said, we still like to have lots of followers anyway.
Yes.
So our last question for you, what are some new and interesting ways to get followers?
Yes, so having a growing online community is really important. It is something you should look at, because if it's not growing at all, then there's something wrong and you need to change something. The key is getting the right number of followers, or getting the right followers. So never purchase followers or fans ever. It just goes without saying. Those are fake accounts. Those people will never donate, never sign up for email, never engage with you. So it's kind of pointless. They'll also drag the rest of your list down. They'll drag your reach down. They'll drag everything down. So never purchase followers. But some ways that you can get new people on your site, on your Facebook page, Twitter, holding contests. I've seen that on Instagram, hugely popular, holding some kind of photo contest. I think a great example is the trustees of the reservations where I live. Every winter they hold, it's called like a Frosty Photo whatever year, so Frosty Photo 2016 would be this year, and they encourage people to go to their sites that they are working to conserve and take photos, and then they pick the best one, and they have a calendar. So it gets new people to participate, and then it gets people that have their photos selected to share it with their networks. Using popular hashtags like we saw before, my best day in 3 words. Go to Twitter every morning and see what's trending, and if it makes sense to jump on it, jump on it. If it doesn't make sense, then I wouldn't just insert a hashtag for the sake of inserting a hashtag. But if it makes sense and you can add something to the conversation, do it, because people are searching on that, and that will expose you to new people that may not have heard about you. Encourage tagging, and I do see this a lot, where an organization will post an inspirational quote and then write in the caption, tag a mother that you know who needs this today. I saw this on Mother's Day. You need to do that sparingly. You need to do it only when it makes sense, and I would really only do it maybe once a month, because it can look pandering. It can look like, oh yeah, they just want, you know, people to, they want more engagement. This is their desperate plea for engagement. But if it makes sense, people like to do it. So look around and you'll see it more and more, especially on Instagram. Tag someone in the comments who needs this. Tag someone in the comments who would love this. Look at how it's used. See how it can maybe make sense for you. Participate in trending conversations. So participate in, you know, tweet chats. Participate in something that the public is talking about. Look on Facebook. See what's trending, look on, as I said, you know, on Twitter, see what's trending, because that's what people are talking about, and that will help you participate in the conversation, but also help you get more eyeballs on your, you know, on your particular cause from people that are interested in the topic but might not know about you. Avoiding automation. Do not send your Facebook link to Twitter, and do not, you know, you can't really automate to Instagram, which is good, although I'm sure it's coming. And Pinterest is hard to do too. But don't simply blast out your blog post with the headline with no kind of massaging it for each social network. You have to think about the visual you're including. You have to think about the time of day you're posting and hashtags and those kinds of things. So avoiding automation. People do not like automation. And then if you just post the same thing on Twitter and Facebook, why am I going to follow you on both those channels? Mm-hmm. Definitely explore paid social, because that will get you in front of an audience that you want. So especially on Twitter, you can pay to get your tweet seen by someone else's followers. So if you are a breast cancer charity, you can actually pay to get your tweet seen by people that follow other breast cancer charities. So you know they're interested in breast cancer research and funding breast cancer research, and you want to get in front of them. So it's called lookalike audiences. You can do it on Facebook also. It's really a great way to get some new people, you know, into the fold, into your online community. This is probably the most important thing. Give people a reason to follow you. Don't say follow me on Twitter or like us on Facebook. That's not enough anymore. You really have to say, you know, like us on Facebook to see examples of our beneficiaries and the services we provide, and to see some great videos. Follow us on Instagram for minute-to-minute updates from the field. You need to give people reasons to follow you, especially if they're going to follow you on multiple social media channels, and each social media channel needs to have a target audience and a purpose. That's where people get tripped up. I think they try a one-size-fits-all strategy and it doesn't work, and then people that follow them on Instagram don't really like the strategy because it was meant for Twitter, that kind of thing. So think about who's there, what value you're providing. Always think about your audience and the value you are providing to them. What's in it for me? Always think your audience is asking themselves, what's in it for me? What's in it for me? What's in it for me? Why am I subscribed to this newsletter? Why am I following these people on Facebook? What am I getting out of this relationship? And definitely explore some social selling tools that will help sort of augment your message and get your message out to even more people. And I think, you know, exploring some of these tools, there's really no free lunch anymore on social media if you're being very strategic about growing your audience and getting your message in front of new people and getting your message in front of more of your fans and followers. You do need to invest some kind of budget and certainly resources in terms of time and creativity and graphic design and those kinds of things. So if you are a DIY organization, you know, you need to be allocating some resources in terms of time and effort, but exploring some kind of paid options and some tools, it's really, you know, in my opinion, necessary to kind of cut through all of the noise that's out there. And we all know about the noise out there. Like just during this webinar, I'm looking at my phone and I'm sure I have 60 Facebook notifications, 34 Twitter notifications, 5 Instagram notifications. I mean, it's just the clutter. So how can
You're
you
a staff of
get
one.
through that? And I'm a staff of one person. Exactly.
Oh man, I don't envy that situation. Jeez.
Oh God, I know. I just hide my phone away sometimes.
Well, thanks, Julia. That's so helpful. We've learned a ton, and I'm going to pass it back to Brandon, who's going to lead us into our live portion.
Yeah, thank you so much, Julie and
Great.
Alex,
Sure.
for that discussion. We really appreciate it, and I think we all really learned a lot. So as Julia mentioned, social media is important in growing awareness and fundraising for your cause, and POSIBA can help with that. We actually offer a social sharing tool here called Given that allows you to connect with champion donors and influencers over social media. By connecting with these donors and influencers, you can increase online donations, expand your donor network, and really grow overall awareness about your cause. So right now, POSIBA, we're offering a free 90-day trial. I'd encourage all of you to take advantage of these 90 days. In fact, if you sign up for Given by Friday, May 13th, we'll add an extra 30 days to your free trial. So after the webinar, I'll send an email with the Given sign-up link, and if anyone has any questions or would like more information, I'm here to help. So now we'll go ahead with the questions from you all for Julia. And as a reminder, everyone is on mute, so please be sure to type your questions into the chat box in order for them to be answered. We may not get to answer everyone's questions, but we'll certainly do our best. And any questions we don't get to today will be answered via email after the webinar. So our first question here comes from Mary.
Yeah, so Mary has a question that harkens back a little bit to the measurable results topic. Her question is, when running a donation campaign, we're seeing lots of clicks on our posts, but not a lot of donation conversions. What's the best way to get those donations through social media posts?
Okay, so you're seeing clicks on the post. So clicks on the Facebook post, I'm assuming. I think that you need to look at the page that they're getting to once they click from Facebook. It needs to be, it probably needs to have a video on it. It needs to be have some kind of photo on it. It needs to continue the story that was told from the post, that started in the post and entice people to click. If you're getting people to click on a fundraising appeal on Facebook, that's huge. I mean, that's really great, so good job on that. That's the kind of the first step, but you need to be looking at your case for support. I mean, I would really need to see the process, but even having a small focus group, maybe talking to some people that haven't donated, or your volunteers or your board, or getting people to actually complete the donation process or look, you know, click from Facebook onto the donate page. Maybe it's a cumbersome process, maybe it's a long form, maybe you have a lot of fields that you require. There's many different reasons why they might not actually be donating, but really a tiny percentage of people are going to donate that come to your website. I mean, I don't actually know what the benchmark is, but I'm sure If you Google online donation benchmark, there's probably a study. But I know it's pretty small, so there's a lot of tire kickers, there's a lot of looky-loos, people going to your website for more information, but not actually pressing the trigger or, actually pressing the donate button. I would love to see, of the people who actually made a donation, maybe why they did it, and this might be a great opportunity to connect with these donors, to give them a call and say, hey, we're really trying to beef up our online fundraising process. Thank you so much for your online donation, and I would love to ask you 3 questions about the process. So they're giving you feedback, you're creating a relationship with the donor, and then you're actually getting tips and you're getting that feedback from person that made the donation. So I usually suggest doing that, asking people why they gave, what inspired them to give, what was the process like, could it be easier, maybe just 2 or 3 questions of their time, or even sending out a survey, an online survey through SurveyMonkey, so then you'll find out from the people that are actually doing it. So I think you're doing a great job if you can get people to click, just taking that next step to figure out, are they coming from mobile? Maybe it's not mobile optimized. Maybe there's multiple forms. What is that one obstacle that's preventing them from making that click? And I don't know what that is. So I would have to look at the process, and I suggest polling your current donors.
Good. Okay. Great tip. Our next question comes from Diane about devoting some time to Twitter. She asks, if I don't have 30 minutes to an hour a day for Twitter, is it still better to tweet when I have time than not using it at all?
Well, it depends on your goals. What are you using Twitter for? So if you are an advocacy organization, then you definitely need to be on Twitter, because that's where people go to hear about news, and that's where they go to spread the word quickly about causes that they care about. So if you are, it just really depends on your goals and what you're using it for. If you want to use it to connect with reporters or legislators or influencers, then it takes a lot more time. Certainly you can just, send out some tweets and just program some tweets and schedule them out and never check it, but it's not going to get you the maximum results that it can get you. So really, it really does depend on your goals and how much time you have. And if you have to raise $100,000 this year, and you have to make 10 donor calls a day, then that might be where your priority should be. But if you're running some kind of action fund and you need to get signatures and you need to kind of mobilize people very quickly, then you should definitely spend some time on Twitter. But actually, the way I should say it is, Twitter is exactly like working out. You get out what you put in, 100%. If you work out an hour a day or you work out an hour a week, you're going to get those results. And if you're happy with that, and if that's what you want, and if it helps you little by little by little work toward your goals, then that's fine, and that works for you. But if you really want to see a lot of impact quickly, the more time you put in, the more results you get. That's the best way that I can. I mean, I don't know, given what your experience is with Twitter, but I feel like the more time and effort you put in, the more you get out.
Great. Okay. Well, thanks for your question, Diane. And I just want to remind everyone, we're getting a lot of really great questions. So those that we can't get to in this section of the webinar, we'll definitely address after the webinar, just to put those fears at ease. So the next question we have is from Daniel. Daniel says, I work at a K-8 private school. Do you have any advice for setting up a 365-day-a-year online fundraising campaign? I don't believe schools like ours have ever done this. Do you think this type of campaign is feasible, since our fundraising is usually relegated to physical activities?
It wouldn't be a campaign. It would just be your donate page. So a campaign has a specific start and end, and it has a specific goal. And that's what, when we say crowdfunding, that's what we really mean. So what I would do is absolutely set up your donation page and have it be available, obviously all year long, 24/7. But have a specific drive, maybe at the, well, I don't know, but the start of the year. I have a first grader. I don't know when there's a good time for a fundraising ask. Maybe the end of the year when people are excited, you know, May or something like that. But have a specific time where you really do a push. So make it available, but you can't necessarily, a campaign has a start and an end. It has communications that go out that say, hey, we're halfway to our goal, we're 75% to our goal. Won't you help us by spreading the word to 5 of your friends so we can reach our goal? It mobilizes people around a specific urgent ask. So there's a difference, that's a difference between campaigns and just having the donation page. If you have an annual appeal, you could say there's only, you know, start December 1st, there's only 30 more days to get your tax, you know, get your tax deductible donation in. But if having a campaign is usually the most compelling way to do fundraising, but definitely set up an online donation page for your school and give that as an option every time you ask people for donations. You know, you send out your annual appeal letter, you send out your May appeal, you send out your summer appeal. Have online donations be a huge part of it and encourage people to go there.
Great. Thanks for the great question, Daniel. Okay, now Virginia has a question. For a nonprofit that really runs on event participation, what channels are most engaging to get people to sign up?
Oh, for events? Facebook works really well to help spread the word about events and get a lot of buzz around an event, and hopefully that would translate into event signups. I sit on the board of a nonprofit called Beverly Main Streets, and we're pretty much event-driven and almost 100% volunteer-driven, and we run so many different events to promote the downtown and to promote Beverly. And we set up an individual Facebook event for each of our events, and then we have a very strategic way that we promote it. We promote it in specific community groups on Facebook. We promote it on Twitter. We have graphics that we create and promote on Instagram. We only use Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at this point. We create short videos about the event and post them everywhere. We work with local news organizations. So we have, for each event, a specific promotions plan, but Facebook features in hugely with that, because when you create an event on Facebook, you can then promote it, so you can then create an ad around it. I can personally, as an individual, invite all of my Facebook friends to it, so whether or not they go, they at least know about it. It's very easy to share across Facebook. And then the other thing that I've been seeing on Facebook is that Facebook will suggest events to me. So say Saturday morning, I'm sitting around my coffee and I'm like, it's a really nice day. I'd like to, you know, what's going on locally that I could take my kids to. I've done that a couple of times, and I go on Facebook, and Facebook suggests events to me based on pages that I like, based on my interests, based on what my friends are going to, based on my location, based on other events I've attended. Facebook's very smart in that way. So you want to make sure that you have all of your events, you create a dedicated page, and then you can put the ticket link in that Facebook event.
That's a good tip. Awesome. Okay, thanks for the question, Virginia. And we're on to Tanner's question. Why do nonprofit social media pages have such little engagement compared to other industries?
Because they don't pay to promote. They don't pay anything. So I think if you're going to get a lot of engagement, if you're talking about like Coca-Cola or the big companies on social media, they pay a lot of money to promote their posts, and then they're seen by more people, and then if they're seen by more people, they get more engagement. That's one. But also, the majority of posts that I see are boring. They don't invite engagement. So they don't ask a question. They just don't get people angry or inspired or cause any kind of emotional response where people would want to participate. A great nonprofit post I saw the other day, it's I Love Libraries, and it's run by the American Library Association, and First of all, they created a page called I Love Libraries, which is brilliant because people are much more likely to like a cause than the American Library Association. I'm much more likely to like a page called I Love Libraries than I am to like an association. It's just the way we are. So as much as you can organize your posts and your page around a cause or a passion that people have, they're not passionate about your organization. They're passionate about the results that your organization achieves. You're the conduit for their passion. So think about it that way. They don't really want to hear all the boring, we have a new board member and we have a new sponsor and this. I mean, that's what we have been trained to use social media for, but that's not what our audiences want from us on social media. And I know that businesses know it and they do it well. So anyway, the I Love Libraries page, they post questions that get a lot of engagement, or they posted something that said, okay, ebooks versus, hardcover books, go. And it was just, they weren't taking a stand, but people that like their Kindle and people that hate electronic books, they're very passionate about it. So it elicited a lot of discussion, a lot of great debate, and just a lot of engagement. So trying to think about it that way and thinking about your audience first, what's going to get them so inspired that they actually are participating in a conversation. It's tough. It's not easy to do.
Great. Okay. We have a good question from Megan regarding video.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have an opinion about live people versus animation using tools like Powtoon to tell the story and mission to describe services?
Yes. No. I do have an opinion. I think both are great. So if you use something like Animoto, it's A-N-I-M-O-T-O. You can create a great little animated video. Oh my God, and there was such a great video called, it was really famous, I Am a Girl, or A Day in the Life of a Girl. Something like that is fantastic. I will Google it and figure it out. And it was such a great animated video all about why we should educate girls and why we should focus on girls' education. And I believe it was the UN Council for Human Rights YouTube channel. I'm pretty sure it's the UN Council for Human Rights. And it was such a great animated video. It was shared everywhere. Another great animated video is St. Baldrick's Foundation. They have a fantastic video about the impact that childhood cancer has on a family and some of the costs. And they don't actually talk about a specific child. They talk in very general terms, and they have this animated video, and it's very impactful. So I think the most impactful thing you can do is talk to someone who has actually been through, been through your services and experienced your services, but using a combination and using something like Animoto or animated certainly works out well. Oh, and I've got to find that video about A Day in the Life of a Girl, but definitely look on the St. Baldrick's page for their little animated short about the impact that childhood cancer has, because it's a great one too.
Good tips. And the software you mentioned to begin with was called Animoto. Should I get that right?
Yes, A-N-I-M-O-T-O.
Great. Good. Okay. I think we have time for one more, and
Okay.
we're going to close out and give you guys a couple minutes back of your day. And I apologize if I'm butchering this name, but I believe it's pronounced Jaconda. She asks, if we run a contest, is it okay to run the same contest on various media or make it more specific to each channel?
I think it would be very hard to run the same contest on various channels because they all have such different, they just have different ways of participating, but you can promote it through all the channels. So having some kind of contest, like a photo contest, that would actually be very easy to run across all of the channels, but having maybe one place where you can submit, having one hashtag, having one central location where people can go to find contest information. But something like a photo contest, using a hashtag, submitting a story, it's just a matter of your capacity to monitor all the channels and to take all of those submissions and put them into one place and pull a name, or, I think on Facebook it's easy to run a contest because if you run a contest where you solicit photos or entries, and then your audience can basically vote on them. So the one with the greatest number of likes wins, or the greatest number of comments or shares. That's a pretty easy one to do. Or you can do a contest across the channels where you ask for photos using a specific hashtag. It's just a matter of your capacity to monitor all of the channels. But you definitely want to be promoting your contest, no matter what it is, across everything. Like, tell everybody about it and encourage everyone to go. Even in in-person, you know, in in-person meetings, in your direct mail, in your annual report, in your newsletter, talk about your social media contest everywhere that you look, because you just never know where you're going to find participants.
Okay, fantastic. Well, thank you all so much for all those great questions. I know I've learned a lot, and I hope all of you have as well. Special thanks to Julia for being our expert and for sharing all of this fantastic information. I'm sure many of you know someone who couldn't make it or would find this information helpful, so please feel free to pass along the recording using our given postcard. We'll send a link to the postcard in a follow-up email to you. And as promised, there's an extra perk for sticking around. We have 3 copies of Julia's book, The Ultimate Guide to Creating Nonprofit Social Media Graphics. So for those who share the webinar postcard with the most people, we'll award a copy of this book. For more information on how your nonprofit can use social media or with any questions about Given, please feel free to contact us. Thank you all so much for attending, and have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Julia.
Thank you. Take care.
Thanks.
Bye.